more on this, Gulf analyst and assistant professor, King's College London, Dr. Andreas Krieg, joins us now in the studio. Thank you very much for joining us, Andreas. So today is the anniversary of the Qatar siege. How has this impacted the state of Qatar today?
Well, today, I think 2 years ago, when news came that Qatar was blockaded, being a peninsula, I think most analysts would have thought that might be quite bringing Qatar to its knees. But actually now, 2 years later, well, surprisingly, Qatar has actually weathered the storm quite surprisingly well. Economically, you're just mentioning the massive growth rates, obviously due to Qatar's amazing, reserves that it has, the ability to use and liquidate some of that cash and pouring it back into the economy has been very successful. But beyond the economy, I think Qatar has been able to use this as an opportunity, seize the opportunity that the isolation within the GCC has brought with it, because they no longer are the countries under the same pressure from Saudi Arabia and to UAE to do what they think is best for them. So I think they have a lot more liberty, a lot more freedom now to decide what kind of policies they want to endorse, what partners they want to work with, and how they want to work with them. And I think the countries have now hedged their bets. They've hedged their relationships with other countries, not just Turkey and Iran, but also, with Palestine, with Iraq, with Morocco. There are more and more countries that Qatar has built these kind of relationships with, and they're doing it as they see fit, rather than, trying to please the demands from Riyadh and Abu Dhabi.
So can we say diplomatic ties are improving?
Absolutely. I think Qatar is going back to where they were before the Arab Spring. Rather than being an activist, as Qatar was during the Arab Spring, Qatar is now going back to being more of a mediator, something, that is right for its size, considering that it's a relatively small, albeit very financially well-endowed city-state. So they're going back to playing a mediating role in Palestine. They're playing a mediating role now between the United States and Iran. They tried to play a mediating role in Yemen, but obviously the Saudis and the Emiratis don't want the Qataris there. And Qatar has always been a hub for networks, so I think they've been able to utilize that quite well.
So looking at today, what is really left of Qatar's siege? Can we say it's actually over?
No, it's not over, but I think we need to see that the crisis has been normalized. So everyone has accepted the fact that there is a blockade in place. Everybody has accepted the fact that this is probably not going to change. We see a stalemate diplomatically. Nothing has shifted really. Nothing has changed since probably July 2017, when it was the last time that the blockading countries raised some of their demands. But nothing has moved on the diplomatic side. We all, much of the crisis is happening online in the information space, where, you have narratives being spread, fake news being spread, especially Twitter and Facebook and so on. But that really doesn't change anything on the ground. But it has been normalized to a degree that the countries go about their business. They have found ways around, bypassing the blockade, building their own relationships with other countries, and doing so without being somewhat constrained by their neighbors. And in so doing, everybody can live with the situation. The countries can live with it. The Emiratis and the Saudis can live with it. And Egypt, to some extent, have been indifferent, and the Bahrainis have been somewhat indifferent about the blockade. But really, the push to maintain the status quo currently comes from Riyadh and Abu Dhabi, and Doha seems to follow it.
Well, that's all the time we have. Thank you very much for coming in, Andreas Krieg.
Thank you.